Okay, so here we are back at a dam that we did some work on. It was probably 5 or 6 months ago now. At that stage we were in a fairly serious drought here in Australia, and the owner had contacted us about this dam, which had been a problem since construction many years ago. It had never held water. I think the owner had tried another product, polymer-based product, with no success. We were contacted to ask if our product would work, and that's a question we get all the time: does your product work? So I'm pleased to say today that we've come back to this dam that we did some work on, and you would have seen in an earlier video exactly what we did to this. We gave it a bit of a scrape. The problem with this dam was that there was never a key constructed under the wall, so we've basically got soil being placed without a trench being cut and soil compacted on top of that. So the water was tracking in underneath, and this dam had never held water. So what we recommended was to apply some extra clay, because this is a very sandy soil. So we introduced some extra clay, some bentonite clay, but we've also applied our DamIt Dam Sealer over the top. And as you can see, after we've had a decent amount of rain, we've now got, you know, a perfect end result, which is a dam full of water. So just looking at the situation here, we're probably about a foot and a half below the spillway that we created. So the spillway is obviously lower than the dam wall, and that's certainly something that you want. You don't want to try and have any water flowing over the wall itself. You've got to create a spillway you know, with sufficient freeboard that the water can get out of here before it does damage and starts erosion over the top of the walls. But just looking at this, trying to understand what's happened, you know, we've had a little bit of scour. You can see behind me there's actually some signs of erosion where the water's come through. We've actually created a little bit of a catchment channel up there to help divert the water in. Ideally you want to try and get some vegetation, some grasses growing on this to consolidate everything, but that also, the fact that there are some grasses growing, helps us understand what's happened here. It looks to me like the water level has come up. There's been some rain and some of these grasses have started growing, but the encouraging thing is that a lot of these grasses now around the edges are all submerged, which suggests that the water level has come up and it's stayed up. Normally these types of grasses, which are pasture grasses, aren't going to be growing in the water itself. This is a newly constructed dam. Up until just before Christmas, which was you know, about 6 weeks ago, this was just dry, bare earth. There was absolutely nothing here, but our wet season's finally hit us. We've had a heap of rain and the water's come in. You can see just panning around the edge that the level actually has been slightly higher. So the water level has actually settled a little bit, and that's not unusual. It's quite common for a new dam to actually take some time to sort of bed itself in. But the encouraging thing is the water level is stabilised at this level. You can see there's no obvious signs of floating polymer or problems. A lot of people say, oh, you know, am I going to be able to swim in it? Am I going to be able to use it? If someone was to look at this today, you wouldn't know that this product has been treated with polymer. It beds itself in fairly quickly, and it basically becomes part of the soil structure over time. So this is a permanent fix, and there's no obvious signs. So stock can drink from this dam if the owners wanted to swim in it or use it for water sports, no problems whatsoever. There's nothing toxic about the product itself. And we're seeing signs of aquatic life, frogs and all the rest of it starting to appear in here. And the fact that you've got vegetation around the edge is great, because it's going to help stabilise. But one thing I just wanted to highlight, as we sort of walk around the dam here, while this dam may appear to be now sealed and totally fixed, we would suggest that this is monitored over time. So you can see that there's a very steep embankment that's been created here, and this was the issue, that before there was signs of erosion through here. There's still a little bit of erosion because the amount of water that's washed down here without any vegetation on it has taken the soil. We've had some summer storms. But what will happen over time is the vegetation will lock all of that in, and once the grasses are established, it'll stop more erosion. But it might be necessary, you know, as we move into the winter months, as it gets a bit drier, just to check this out, make sure there's no obvious wet patches or green patches, which are telltale signs of leakage. At the moment we've had so much rain, everything's green. You wouldn't distinguish an area that might be a little bit wet from an area that's just had rain. So there's no point in trying to do that now, but we've been for a quick walk through here, scoured. There's nothing obvious, which is great news. And I think the proof over here is in the pudding that we've now got a dam that's almost at full capacity after some reasonable rains, and we've got a very happy customer.